Hello, my beautiful friends. So today we're going to have a little bit of fun, and I'm going to talk about the 5 types of PhD students that I've encountered. Which one are you? This video is brought to you by my newsletter. Go check it out because I share exclusive content. You get an insider look into the world of academia, and also I run competitions and invite-only Q&As are planned for the future. So go sign up because that is where all of the expert little tips and tricks are stored, and it's exclusive content that you can only get access to at andrewstapleton.com.au/newsletter. I'll put a link in the description and I'll see you over there. Okay, so this topic is a little bit of fun, and what I did is I asked some of my most trusted academic friends about the sorts of PhD students that we've seen, that we've encountered, and we've tried to kind of group them up into 5 different types of PhD students so that maybe you can get an idea of the sort of diversity of people that do take up PhDs, and each one of these people, other than one of them, got their PhD. So it just shows you that there's so many routes to a PhD and that you don't just have to kind of like be the perfect PhD student. You just have to commit to that daily routine. You just have to commit to the end goal and you will get there. It may not be pretty, but you'll get there. And that's what these 5 types of students have done. All but one. One of them failed, and you'll find out about why in a moment. But yes, here they are. The first one. Okay, the first sort of student I've seen everywhere that I've worked, and this is the play hard, work hard type of student. Now, this person is known for being a bit of a cheeky sort of chappy, a little bit of a cheeky person. They really like getting on like the party wagon bus. They drink a lot. They are, extroverted. And you sometimes wonder how they squeeze it all in because they also work incredibly hard as well. In one extreme example, a PhD student was working until so they do a normal day. They'd come in at like 9, go till about 5, then they'd go home, have some lunch, have a nap, then come back in until like maybe at 9 p.m. until about 2 in the morning. And they'd repeat that over and over. And then on the weekends or when they went to conferences or when they did other things, they would let loose. Like this person was not shy of a good time and just kind of like maybe numbing the effects of the PhD work intensity. So yes, work hard, play hard, and this person finished their PhD, I think within about 3 years, but they were burning the candle at both ends. And I reckon by the end of those 3 years, even though their outward personality was like, this is fun, I'm having a great time, I reckon they were very, very tired at the end of it. But there we are, work hard, play hard. It is possible to burn the candle at both ends for a short period of time. And they looked like they were enjoying it as well. Okay, the second type of PhD student is what we have called the gamester. Now, the gamester understands that academia is a game. The game is get as many papers and peer-reviewed articles as possible throughout your entire PhD. This person knows that, being super diligent with the tiniest of details maybe isn't the best game plan, but rather they do their experiment, they get their results, they tell a story, they publish it, they move on. Now, the person I'm thinking about externally looks incredible as a PhD student. They are pushing out the papers like there's no tomorrow. There may be a little bit of an issue with reproducibility. Maybe there's a little bit of an issue in terms of the overall quality may not be quite there, but they have ticked the boxes, which means that when they look for that next job opportunity, a postdoc, or even to become an academic, people are looking at them and going, wow, they have really pushed out the papers. And unfortunately, it makes them more attractive to institutions that just want to boost their citations or boost it out. It's a strange game. Papers are the currency of the academic market, and there have been PhD students who know how to do the smallest amount of work, but get efficient kind of outputs and papers and just use that time efficiently. So they do exist, and I've seen a few examples of them. Okay, the third type is the procrastinator. I feel like I was in this bucket mainly, this one, and maybe a little sort of sprinkling of work hard, play hard. But the procrastinator is someone who gets easily sidetracked by social media, by other things, by other projects. And I think at one point, I was like, this is why I need to do something outside of academia, because I am just so much more interested in the other stuff. I don't want to do this job. And that certainly was my case. So I spent a lot of time on social media during my PhD. Go check out my other video where I talk about the mistakes I made. But, I didn't have a routine that I followed. I had no sort of end goal. It was just like stumbling across the next experiment. And, it can be really hard to pull yourself out of that rut once you're in it. But pulling yourself out of the procrastination mode is the only thing you can do to get a PhD. And I did it eventually by setting hard rules with myself, setting limits, setting a daily routine that I would execute regularly. But there are so many PhD students, I cannot sort of begin to describe how many different types of procrastinator I have seen, and with that comes excuses. So they just go, well, I couldn't do this because the thing wasn't working, and I couldn't do this because the thing, and someone didn't respond to my email or something like that. So yes, I was in that bucket, and it's not good, is it? Okay, the fourth type of PhD student is what we have dubbed the obsessor. The obsessor is someone who wants to know everything there is about something before launching into doing the experiment. Now, from the outside, this may look like a very slow, sort of glacial type of progress, but inside their head, they are laying the foundations for understanding their science and their field and their experiments properly, so they can properly kind of interpret the results. It means that in the short term, people think, oh, they're not doing too well, or they're not sort of progressing as fast as they should. But in the long run, what you get after 3 years of them obsessing about their experiments and their field is a very, very knowledgeable PhD student who is perfectly aligned to jump into the next thing if they so wish, which is a postdoc. Yes, they do invest in themselves. They don't see that short term not getting anywhere as a barrier for becoming an expert. It's about laying the foundations and obsessing over the tiniest amount of details, which means that it takes a while for them to get to the experimental stage or get to that kind of unique challenge phase. But once they're there, they're well equipped to tackle it efficiently and move on. And this sort of person doesn't necessarily produce tons of papers, say like the Gamester does, but what they do produce is incredibly detailed, high quality work that will receive a lot of citations. And importantly, if someone reproduces their work overseas, elsewhere, it stands up to the kind of scrutiny of peer review and people repeating their experiments elsewhere. So yes, the obsessor, it can feel like that they're a procrastinator from the outside, but they are laying the foundations, and they will just end up, you will find out which one you are in year 3, procrastinator or obsessor. If you're an obsessor, you will be such an expert at the end of those 3 years, or 5-7 years in the US, of your PhD, because you have just laid the foundations perfectly and you let every little detail inform your decisions. Okay, number 5. This is the type of PhD student that does not get a PhD. We have dubbed this type of PhD student the Yeti, because you kind of have heard stories of their existence, but you've never actually seen them. This is a PhD student who maybe gets their scholarship and then disappears into the unknown. Occasionally they turn up with results to group meetings. You may not even ever really recognize them when they turn up to the group meetings, or you think they're a new student, but they may have been there for ages. One type of person in particular had been there for a very long time, and I heard of his existence. He used to come in to do his PhD at night. And there were rumors of him drying his underwear in the glassware drying cabinets. I don't know how true this is, but he certainly, when I was leaving at 5 or 6 p.m., he was turning up. Yeah, that's how that worked. Another type of PhD student that I have had first-hand experience of is a Yeti that I saw just briefly in the distance for a little bit. This PhD student applied for a PhD and turned up for maybe just a few. I would pass them in the corridors, not really thinking too much of it. I was actually sort of the lead or the senior postdoc on the grant that I was kind of like controlling or running, and they would have to give me experimental results for me to put into the progress reports that we would hand over. But they disappeared. They Yetified themselves, which is awesome. And I approached my supervisor and I was like, where have they gone? And my supervisor went, oh, don't worry about that. I'll handle it. I can only imagine that this Yeti student had some dirt, some naked pictures, something, or some, like, I don't know, scandalous bit of information about the supervisor, because this Yeti student actually got to the end of their 3 years scholarship with full funding. They got like the best part of $60,000 Australian dollars throughout their PhD, and showed up for about 6 months of it. So this Yeti student often doesn't finish because you hear about them, they turn up regularly, they leave clues in the lab that they've been there at night, or you may notice that some of the glassware is not clean, or the instrument that they've been using or the papers that they've been reading are laid around or being changed or something, but they just don't put in the work to get a PhD. And I've seen, I reckon I've seen about 3 Yetis in my time, in my sort of 13 years in academia. Don't be a Yeti. Turn up, do the results. But at the same time, here we are. This person who turned up for 6 months and then just disappeared. Part of me after I left academia was like, did they play the game properly? As in, they didn't want to do a PhD, but there was money on the table. They had some dirt on their supervisor, and they just knew that there was going to be some free money for 3 years. Maybe they're a genius. All right then, so there are the 5 types of PhD students. That was a little bit of fun, and I feel like you can have like little bits of some, little bits of others. It may be a mixture of all 5 that you feel like you are, but let me know in the comments, which one are you? Which combination are you? Or have you got another one that you would add to that list? Let me know in the comments. Remember to go sign up to the newsletter at andrewstapleton.com.au/newsletter. That's it. And until next time, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video.